So as a reminder, the meeting is being recorded now and all lines have been muted. However, we do welcome and encourage you to send in your questions through the chat. So don't miss this opportunity to ask questions directly from our incredible guests. So I think we can end this poll and officially start. Great. So just to borrow a few more minutes of your time, I'm Margarita and I'm a Deputy Project Manager at Funding Box, a European deep tech accelerator and a partner of the Photon Hub Europe project. Funded by the European Commission, Photon Hub Europe seeks to boost the competitiveness and uptake of photonics technologies in Europe. If you are a company innovating in photonics and would be interested in grant funding and technical support, business and investment readiness coaching support, or training or access to advanced research centers focused on the technologies that you see on the slide, please do check out our activities on the Photon Hub Europe website and fill in our short application form so that someone can get in touch. Speaking of signing up, did you know that we have a community dedicated to Photon Hub Europe where startups, investors, researchers, and technology organizations can come together to promote their organizations, meet other stakeholders, and access daily tips on investment readiness. My colleagues will send over a link in the chat to join this community now. It's free. And lastly, speaking of investment readiness, let's dive back into our agenda for today. As the name suggests, the Photonpreneurs series has been designed to share the real and often unconventional fundraising journey of those exploring, designing, and launching ventures or companies inspired by the science and technology of light. As this is a monthly series, my colleagues will be sending another link to register for next month's Photonpreneurs episode with the SpellXOY CEO, Antti Sunari, and you can already register for that by clicking the link in the chat now. Finally, today we are pleased to welcome Sylvie Menezo, founder and CEO of SCINTIL Photonics, who launched her business in photonics and raised $4.4 million with VCs in just 3 years. And of course, with her, we also welcome her co-founder and chairman of the board, Pascal Langlois, who brings a wealth of experience in driving business strategy. So welcome, Sylvie and Pascal.
Thank you very much, Margarita.
Great. So let's dive deep into it. We have a couple of questions prepared. And of course, again, to our audience, if you have any questions, feel free to send those at any time in the chat. I guess, Sylvie, we can start with maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background, your transition from research to entrepreneurship, your entrepreneurial journey to date, and how you got the vision for SCINTIL and a little bit about SCINTIL.
Sure. So first of all, we are very delighted, myself and Pascal, to be joining this webinar, and thank you so much for inviting us to give some feedbacks on our first fundraising. Indeed, myself, I have 25 years of background in the industry of optical communications and sensing applications. In fact, I started working in a startup in the US, developing optical components for optical communications. This is where I got passionate for optical communications, and also passionate by the multicultural and diversity side of a company. I think this was where this is when I started to figure out to build my own company in the future. But I was very young at this time. Then I went to after this startup company in the US. I wanted to learn more about optical communications. So I made a PhD at Centre National d'Études des Télécommunications in Paris. And after I was hired by Alcatel, to develop lasers for optical communications again. So great experience in a big company after startup company. At the crash of the internet bubble, this dates from the year 2000. I decided to recycle my skills into a different domain, mostly sensing applications, and I joined a great company, again, a big company, Compagnie Générale de Géophysique, where I had to start from scratch an activity, a project development for optical sensing. So this was a real great experience with this company. I was happy. Also, I was lucky to be able to do a part-time executive MBA, and this is when things started to build together in my brain. So in 2012, I finally joined CELETI, a leading research organization in semiconductors. And I was hired to develop and commercialize silicon photonics for optical communications. And CEA is a great research institute because if you want to launch a startup, because they have programs to launch startups. So that was a great opportunity. So it took me some years to make up my mind, or at least to prepare things all together. So I finally made a deal with Leti for a license to exploit one part of the technology, this is when things started as the startup, and we can get back to that later on, I guess, with other questions.
Perfect. And before we jump into more details, could you maybe share a brief introduction as well, Pascal?
Yeah, so thank you. Yes, before joining Sylvie and co-found the company, I was CEO of a MEMS company in the region here, making different type of MEMS. And we introduced the company to the stock market in Paris, to Euronext. And then we sold the company to TDK Group. So that was my activity before I joined Sylvie. And before that, I worked in the semiconductor industry. So I was with ST Ericsson, which was a JV between Ericsson and ST for making chips for wireless. So I was responsible for sales and marketing there. And before that, I was with NXP. And before NXP, also in some type of sales function. And before that, I run different businesses in Philips Semiconductor, including automotive and multi-market products. Before that, I was with an American company.
Well, great. Let's jump into details for both of those questions. Sylvie, maybe you could share us, how do CEO and chairman work together? What is the dynamic with your existing investors from the previous fundraising, and I guess in the day-to-day?
Yeah, so maybe I can give a bit of history here. Before starting the company with Pascal, again, I was part of a startup program from CELETI, and I had so this left me 1 year, full year dedicated to start up the company. I prepared the partnerships and also start doing the prospection with customers. And during that year also, I made this French contest. This is called eLab. So in 2018, this helps you structure your business plan, your partnerships, how much you need to raise as money. And I was lucky to be a laureate of this French contest. And this is when I started to meet some investors, and one of them introduced me to Pascal, my perfect match to fund the company and to develop the company. So this is when we started together. I didn't know Pascal, so he was presented to me by an investor, and the match was. This is maybe later on I can give some advice, but this is an advice you have to really follow your instinct. I knew people who I didn't want to work with, and I knew people directly, my instinct, people who I really want to work with. And Pascal, first minute of, I said, oh, this is it. This is the guy I need. And this was just before the first fundraising. So we met several times, and we get on very well. And we started our first trips, I say roadshow for our first fundraising, and I think naturally the work our organization gets set up very naturally. Many things we do together, like negotiate with important customers or suppliers or partnerships, license agreements. We do this together. We have some complementary skills. Other things Pascal will do, other I will do, but things are set up very naturally together. So this is how it works together. Yeah.
Great. And Pascal, is your work as chairman of the board comparable with other company boards that you're involved with? And if not, how is it different?
Yeah, I'm working with another company indeed, but here it's pretty different because here I co-founded the company with Sylvie, so we have been really working together since day one. With other activities, it's a bit different. It's more existing thing, but here we have been really having the full journey. Of course, Sylvie had the vision, and she was preparing the thing significantly before, but we had the full journey of creating the company, doing the fundraising together, worked the customer side and the investor side, also the partnerships and so forth. So that's really, in this sense, it's quite perhaps deeper than what I can do with others.
Perfect. And I guess jumping into the topic, Sylvie, can you share some wisdom that you've gathered along the way, whether it's about how to raise capital, do's and don'ts, or how to run a deep tech company?
Yeah, so maybe first advice would be, again, listen to your instinct. You have to get very well surrounded because it's heavy work. It's lots of fun. But it's lots of work, heavy work, tough work. And this is when you need to be very well surrounded. And this is when you need to listen to your instinct. And this is the case for your team, your partners, but also your customers, because in the end, these are the customers that drive you. And you want the journey to be great, motivating, and so on. So yeah, first thing, be well surrounded, and this is your choice. You choose it because you start things from scratch, so you can really choose that. The other advice is, I would say, for your second question, how to run a deep tech company. I would say if you raise money, even though you raise money, it's very key to be driven by a customer. I think they make you progress. They accelerate your progress. Like of course it's because in the end this will be the money for the company, but also it also structure you in the way you work and motivate your team. It's a huge set of big advantage. Not only the money, of course, but also it drives you. So that's why you need also to choose a very, very motivating and high potential customers. So yeah, don't run free right from the beginning. If you of course, in our company we had to go from research fab to a commercial fab. So right from the beginning, be a partner with customers. Yeah, that's a second key advisor.
And I guess on that note, do you have any ups and downs of launching a business that you would want to share, either for SCINTIL or any other projects that you've been involved in?
Yeah, I think ups, of course, always the customers. This is what makes you dream in the end and makes your team dream. So these are very nice ups. We had end of year 2020, we had our first customer, an edge equipment manufacturer in 5G networks. And the second one, we got it just in August 2021. And this was also a customer of a dream. So these were very two high ups for us. Maybe also I would advise to really savor your highs with your team, because things are, when you are in a startup, things are very accelerated. Many things are accelerated, but you should take the time to savor your ups, your wins with your teams, because this is what will boost you to support, to come over your downs. Most of the time, myself, I might not do that very well, but this is something I have learned to do, and this is very key to savor your ups, your wins. Take the time to do that with your team, with your partners. Share your wins, your ups with your partners, with your customers, because it's a very positive cycle. The downs, I had also many. I think maybe my biggest down is when you spend some time to apply for a grant. Sometimes it's good because it structures also your vision and how you sell the company to the investors. But when you lose a grant, it's a down, because you have spent so much time. So you say, oh, maybe next time I should spend more time on trying to win a customers. But when you run a startup, you need money, a deep tech startup. So you have first to win customers, then you need to have to raise funds, and you can also apply for grants, and this takes some time. And if you fail, well, for me this was a down when failing on the grant application. This is a down. But I must say also I have a very selective memory, so my downs try to be erased quite quickly, and that's how I manage it. Yeah.
Thanks, Sylvie. Pascal, do you also want to weigh in on that, on the ups and downs of launching the business?
Sure, Margarita. The key thing is that the vision Sylvie articulated for the company is very powerful. So that gives us a great entrance with customers, investors, and so forth. You know, so that's the first thing. So then you know, of course, there are ups and downs, but the fighting spirit, which both of us have in a way, you know, is really helping us to go through the downs, which are there from time to time. But relatively early, we were able to win customers, investors, and also Sylvie will mention this, but also industrial partners. And every time, even if there are some difficulties, this clear roadmap on those three fronts, which are really important for us for developing the company, is giving us a lot of energy, you know.
Great. And speaking of raising capital, Sylvie, why did you decide to raise capital in the first place?
Oh, for the type of company we have built, there was no other choice. Indeed, you mentioned that we raised $4.4 million. And in fact, we complemented it with bank loans and grants. So we doubled this amount, but this is about the amount we needed to make the first step to our ambition. This was to set up the supply chain, the industrial supply chain, because we have at SCINTIL we do silicon photonic circuits for ultra high speed optical communications, and we are fabless. So we design these circuits. We have them fabricated by commercial fabs. You might have heard these semiconductor fabs, very famous semiconductor fabs. So we subcontract the fab to these commercial fabs, and we do the test. But so it's quite a costly cycle to go to product dev. So first of all, you have to set up your supply chain. This is not only the fab, but you need, with the ambition we have to be a world-leading supplier of integrated circuits, you need to be surrounded by some industrial partners, the fab and also others in packaging supply chain and electronic supply chain. So this requires lots of money, and there were no other options to our knowledge. Maybe we missed one, Pascal, I don't know. But there was no other option than going for fundraising. Because without fundraising, you cannot apply for bank loans if you don't have revenues. We started with no revenues, so no possibility to do bank loans, no possibility to apply for grants, because the grants would only fund you at a rate of let's say from 15% to, for the highest rate funding rate, to 75%. So you need to have money, and this is when we got on track with Pascal for first fundraising.
And on that note, Pascal, like when is the right time to look for capital? Sylvie mentioned a few notes, but
yeah, it's really depending on the company and the needs you have for money. So in our case, it was relatively early because we wanted to develop the product, develop the team, develop the industrial partners, and so it was a way we would do this. No, in a certain case, when it's requesting perhaps a bit more of outside spending, you can consider different alternatives. But that's really depending on your business, the nature of your business, and the nature of the investment you have to make towards supplier and towards the customer and the team.
And Sylvie, you mentioned the sizable Series A round, the 4.4 million. What did closing that round change for you and for SCINTIL as a company? What did that round kind of funding enable you to do as a for SCINTIL?
So indeed, this enables you to set up your supply chain. Commercial fab for us. We had all the agreements prepared, ready to be signed upon fundraising. So we were able to place our first purchase order to run our first dedicated design with many fab mask levels, and so first point. But then hopefully we had set up a partnership with University of Toronto, so we had already some designers as consultants working to prepare the design, but we needed to hire more designers and more people. So we hired in design, packaging, industrialization. So what this money helped us to do, first fab, and in parallel designers, and complete the teams with packaging engineers. This also really helps you also to go for prospection, because this secures your customers. So we had already a network in place in the domain, optical communications. But when they knew we had raised money, this, oh, okay, then you can be considered as a real partner who can supply, and so definitely this helped ramp to our first objective. Set up the supply chain, put it entirely industrial, make your first prototypes, sample them to your customers, and this is what we use the money for.
Perfect. And Pascal, how did you identify the investors to pitch to?
Yeah, so we are lucky in a way that we are part of a very nice ecosystem in Grenoble. So there are quite a lot of connections we have in the industry and so forth. But basically, the people which could invest in the company network, Sylvie and I were having, so that was the first source. So we were knowing a certain number of people. Also, well, we just ask also some colleagues. You know, it seems very basic what I'm saying, but we have some colleagues and check a little bit and how they did this and with whom, etc. And well, we did some search on the web also, and of course participating in some events, well, like organized by BPI or varieties of organization like Tech Tour, etc. So that's and also of course trade show and conferences. Sometimes there are people which are interested in the company. So that's a bit different type of approach, but that's the way to go, probably.
And it's
at least that was always.
And it's worked well. Sylvie, you mentioned, I guess, the bank loans. What options does one have, dilutive and non-dilutive funding options?
Yeah, so bank loans are non-dilutive. We have the grants also. Oh, by the way, some types of grants in Europe can be also a mixture of the two. This is the EIC, I guess. So yeah, so bank loans, grants as non-dilutive, mostly non-dilutive. And if we want to get into the details of what we got, we got the deeptech from Banque Publique d'Investissement in France. So for companies who have been just funded, there's this deeptech program supported by Banque Publique d'Investissement. And there are also some regional grants. We won a regional grant. This was a very nice grant because we in this grant, it's a collaborative. It's funded by Grenoble Métropole and la Région Rhône-Alpes. So these two partners fund collaborative programs, and in fact, a program where a startup is partnering with a customer of her. So
and just can you, I guess, expound a little more why you raised the debt in parallel to the 4.4 million A round?
Yeah, so you, in fact, a grant should only serve one program. So first, in parallel with the fundraising, we applied for this deep tech grant, and then you have to finish it or to have a different program to apply for another grant. So I think this is key for startups, deep tech startups, who because you cannot. Yeah, you have to count on several types of funding, and of course, again, early customers are also another type of non-diluting funding, non-dilutive funding. So you have to compose with this mix to achieve your goals and not lose too much of the control of your company at the same time. So.
Perfect. And Pascal, you've got pretty prestigious investors like Supernova, BPI, and the Endowment Fund or Innovacom. Can you talk a little bit more in detail about the role of BPI and public funding in general for startups in France and beyond?
Yeah, so indeed, Sylvie mentioned already some great things BPI is putting in place, like the deep tech. But there are several aspects in this. But just maybe before I attack the BPI, one point which is important is to start to prepare the bank loans roughly in parallel with fundraising or toward the end of the fundraising, because when we closed our fundraising, we were also ready for the banks, and of course BPI is having also a role because supporting this type of bank approach. But yeah, that was a bit sidetracked. But anyway, so regarding BPI, they can also help the company to find investor. They have a team. We didn't use this team, but we get to know them, which is doing deal flows. So for people which don't know the investor or which are in specific sector, they can make some type of introduction to some investors. So they have all these great program Sylvie mentioned. That's one side. Also, of course, they've been involved during the COVID period in certain specific programs to support certain segment of the industry. And the photonic segment is one of them. That was a resilience program, and we applied to this. And now on top of this, we also decided with Sylvie to go to BPI as a potential investor of the company, because there are a certain number of funds which are dedicated for certain activities or certain size of company. And they eventually, from time to time, invest in companies. And well, we had the pleasure of welcoming them as part of our shareholders. So that's really the various approach we have seen there.
Okay, well, on the note, let's dive deeper into and dive into the investor relationship and how you deal with them, I guess, on a day-to-day. I guess Sylvie and also Pascal, like, what do you remember about your first meeting with your investors? I guess we can start with Sylvie.
So maybe I can start, Pascal?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. My first meeting was with Supernova. In fact, one of the people of the team, I studied with him. This was back in 1996, I think. So yeah, this was first meeting. They asked, I think they were very interested by the project. And in fact, Supernova introduced me to Pascal. They have known before. That was a meeting. Let's say we had many of those before Supernova decided to take the lead to be the lead investor for our first fundraising. And so they helped us prepare the business plan to structure it, to make it more robust. So this was many questions. I was not prepared to having so many questions, but this so this helps you set in place everything and robustify your everything. So this was first one, but I also enjoyed very much the ones we did together with Pascal. I think this was these are very nice souvenirs I get. We took a week in Paris, and we were just running from meeting to meetings, and we had great fun. I think it's you have to for investors, you have to be relaxed, and this is what really I appreciated with Pascal. We were very relaxed, and I think your investors know when the team gets on well. We took it like it was something interesting to do. Very, of course, completely necessary for SCINTIL, but I think I really enjoyed the time here. Even though we had some goes, but we had many no goes. But this was funny. This is something that helps you set up some trust together with Pascal, and when things go well like this, when you get on very well with your partner, I think the investors see it. Even though sometimes they reject you, they still keep you in their minds. You can come back maybe for the second round, and I think this is what people liked from a team. So these are my souvenirs I get. And now we are on track for the second fundraising, and I think Pascal, we will be successful if we have the same spirit. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Pascal, did you want to add to that about your meeting with investors?
Yeah, well, maybe a couple of funny things. yeah, one time we went to the wrong address at the investor, so because they moved or something like that, and we were not exactly at the right place, so we had to make some recovery, and another time, well, we went at the right address, but it was not the same, but the people were not there. But finally, you know, those two unfortunate sort of meeting or appointment went well, and we had good meeting. So that was just a little bit of the fun of the situation from time to time.
Well, Sylvie, you mentioned trust, and in your opinion, how did each party, you and the investors, gain each other's trust?
Oh, lots of support from each other. This is very important to be transparent, 100% transparent. This is how you get the trust, and the trust brings you many things, for much support for the downs, for the ups, of course, for the ups, but especially for the downs. So yeah, trust is key, and I think we gain it. It's a long process, but we gain it board to board by being 100% transparent on our ups, on our wins, on our no wins, on our downs, and you have to be precise, not too long. You don't have to lose your investors, so you have to be concise and explain and point out the key elements, and this is really worth to take some time to prepare and to communicate properly with your board of investors.
No, that's great advice. And Pascal, how do you describe your relationship with your investors then and also now? And I guess beyond the money, what value do you see from them?
Yeah, so we have great relationship with our team of investors, and to the people which are at our board, very fruitful type of relationship, which is very important. Now the investor we have, they are well connected in the industry. You know, that's something important. So they know customers, they know other companies from time to time, and have good connections. And yeah, it's also pretty useful as they know other investors where they are the same boards sometimes. So it could be interesting for expanding the financing of the company later. So all this network of relationship. And another value, being investor in startup is a very difficult job. It's not an easy job. Of course, they have to manage the money, but it's complex, you know, because companies are having their ups and downs, and it is a tough job. But as they are involved in many companies, so they can also have some good practice and some good advice to share with the people, and that's certainly useful. That's certainly useful. But our approach with Sylvie is to have an open communication with them, and it have been very constructive.
I must say I was not used. Je t'ai coupé. Did I cut you, Pascal?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I must say that this was new for me, to the relationship with investors, and at first I was not. Oh, okay. I wanted to say something. I did not. I was hesitating before calling, and now I think they like it if you have hesitation. Of course, you don't have to call them every day, or you should not call them every day. But I think this is now established. When they pick up the phone, we pick up the phone. At least I was not prepared to that. Should I behave? Should I just talk during the boards? Can I? Do I have to write mail? Do I have to? And I think this is the way we exchange together is now very natural, and they like to talk. They often call themselves to check out on Earth, etc. And yeah, I think oral communication, because we were not also able to hold our boards live. We had many WebEx or Zoom boards, and I think we could have suffered from that, but we definitely talked a lot by phone or by Zoom, etc. And this is key for the trust. Yeah.
And what do you think investors saw in SCINTIL Photonics to attract them and make the difference? And what advice would you give to photonic startups in approaching investors, Sylvie?
I think what they liked is our focus, because we came with a very at first one target product. We had also already customers relationship, and so they liked our focus. I thought, oh, maybe if we say, well, our technology can support this project. Wow, I thought, oh, this is a huge possible amount of reward for the investors. But in fact, to applying to us, they liked our focus, not this project. They liked our focus, our customers network, and they also liked very much roadmap to go to the industrialization, because this would have been easy for us to stay in the research lab. I said that the startup was funded from CEA research organization, so we had fabricated some prototypes from this research lab. This would have been very comfortable to stay here and continue to prototype and enjoy ourselves prototyping in the research lab. But this was key for us to meet the project roadmap at the right time, and we had this heavy step to set up this industrial supply chain. We had prepared a partnership, etc., and this is what they liked. It's not easy to do. It requires lots of money and of efforts and license agreement, etc. But yeah, they like this industrialization, quick roadmap, or agility to make use of existing things, not reinventing the wheel or trying to change everything in the fabs, etc. They liked our focus, our project focus. They liked our network, customers network, and they check this. They call and they give some codes to check that, of course. And one other thing they liked, it's key. It was key for us as a deep tech company. The patents. We had negotiated a license agreement with Leti. You need to have lots of patents and strong patents because we are competing against big players in the optical communications field. We have big players as competitors. They have big patent portfolio. You have to show your patent portfolio. We'll protect you. We'll enable you to exploit, to be free to exploit. So this is very important in their due diligence to make sure that you will be free to exploit, and then that you will be very well protected. So freedom to exploit, very high barriers you set against your competitors. Yes, so this was another point they liked on a proposal. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, before we wrap up, before the question and answer, what are your future plans for investment? I think you've mentioned it briefly. You can go ahead, Sylvie.
Yeah, we are just on track for the second fundraising. So we have this week we had some first visits from investors, and our goal here. So first phase was set up the supply chain, lock early customers, start project development with our key disruptive technology for these key customers. Here we are on track. Second fundraising now will take us to a volume ramp up and to really product release So this is another step, another phase of the life of the company. And we will need to hire more people, more executive people, more hands-on people. Yeah, next step is really a second phase for volume ramp-up and even development of customer portfolio again.
Perfect. Well, good luck. And with that, we do have some questions from the audience. So I do want to make some time to address those. And I guess we'll start with Pascal, and Sylvie, you can jump in also. As a startup, what were the challenges you faced or are facing with taking designs from a research fab to a suitable high volume one?
Yeah, so regarding the challenge, of course, you need to have some money in order to be able to do this, and also you need really to develop some type of good understanding and good partnership with the industrial partners. So that's very important. So without entering in detail. It's not just a buy-sell or a sell-buy type of relationship, but that's more a partnership type of relationship Sylvie have been putting in place with our suppliers there because they see also an advantage to work with us because and that's very important in looking for partners which are supporting the companies. They need to see an interest in your technology or in your products or in your channels or whatever to work together because you are still relatively small and of course the technology has big promise, but so in terms of product, but it's important that they have a strategic interest also to work with you.
Great. And Sylvie, in your opinion, how does the gut feeling that you mentioned about finding a co-founder extend for the hiring of key people? Is it the same or are there other trade-offs to consider?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think hiring and teaming is the most difficult part, soft part. So it's true that because someone can be good to you, can get along good with you, can match you good, doesn't mean he will match another guy good too. So this is when indeed you really need to listen to you say gut feeling. I didn't know the word. Yeah, gut feeling is very key. And you at first I was not listening enough to my gut feeling, so it took me longer process to go for hiring or someone or another one. But in the end, I think now I'm more confident to listen to my gut feeling, and I think it's a very good screening, good filter, because when dealing with working with someone, this is the only filter you can get. Well, of course, with the first assumptions that these people has the skills you want, and you can be helped for that also. But for the first round of hiring we made them ourselves. We were benefiting from visibility from the French contest we had won. So yeah, yeah, gut feeling plus skills grid, very important to establish per profile your skills grid, and then your gut feeling will do the rest.
That's great. And Pascal, Sylvie has already spoken about the first customer in 2020 and the second high-profile customer in August 2021. But how did you get in contact with customers at the beginning?
Let's say that through the experience Sylvie and is having on this, there is quite a lot of connection with the industry, and of course I have mine and our commercial officer also, and through this, let's say that we are talking to the people in the industry on a regular basis, and from this, we were able to get a customer, and of course we need to get more, and of course put some work program with them relatively early in the process, and also, you know, something which is important with customer or with partners or with investors, very often people are willing to help. That's something, that's a key message I really would like to portray here. If you ask, you know, people to help, it could be customers, it could be investors or people in the industry. In general, not always, but in general, people are willing to help, and people want you to succeed somehow. There is a spirit there which is pretty important, I believe, and yeah.
So we do have a question from the audience. For deep tech, are the company valuations in the US comparable to what is seen here in the EU? And either Sylvie or Pascal, you can answer, whoever wants to take that on.
I think it's it's getting, with this deep tech, there's a will for Europe to get a stronger footprint on deep tech companies. So this is tending to lower down the differences in we used to see in the past, I think. Yeah, to my knowledge, this was indeed a higher valuation in maybe North America than in Europe. But this is tending to be vanishing due to the European strong will to increase its footprint in industry. And I think this is the right time if you want to found a deep tech company. There's a huge, I think there's a huge, there are huge possibilities, and the valuation starts to get, let's say, more balanced, I guess.
I guess this is a good time to do a little plug of, again, Photon Hub Europe is joining this initiative to kind of boost this competitiveness of deep tech around Europe. So that's also why we're doing this webinar and all our activities. Yeah. But we are running out of time. So I guess to wrap up today's webinar, if there was only one tip, what is the most meaningful tip that you received as an entrepreneur and could pass on?
Do you want to go, Pascal, or shall I go?
Oh, go.
Okay. So I think I would say follow your dreams, and they will come true. Yeah. Be ambitious, be courageous, and you can make your dreams come true. Lots of investors ready to join your dreams if you explain, if you communicate them well, and if you have a strong business plan. Yeah.
Pascal, anything to add?
I think Sylvie said this. Being passionate is extremely important, and yeah, if you are passionate and if you have a good case and a strong breakthrough type of approach, I think will come. But of course, all this needs to be.
Oh, maybe a last one, Margarita, if I can.
Sure, please.
Yeah. So I would say that joining startups, here I'm advertising, joining startups can really boost you in setting up your company. I think the way you work in a startup makes you see the many aspects of the company which are key to set up a company. So I would say joining a startup for your first 2-3 years can really boost you in your plans to set up your own business after.
Well, unfortunately, that is a wrap. But thank you so much. Before everyone goes, we do have. We would like to invite you to the next episode, as well as to join our community. So the next episode will be on November 24 with the CEO of this Felix OY, and my colleagues will send a link to register. And you can scan this code on the left to register for that, and scan the code on the right to join our community. But once again, a big thank you to our guests, Sylvie and Pascal, for their time, for their insights and dedication to making an impact in the world of photonics and entrepreneurship. We will be sharing a recap in the community. So again, please don't forget to join. And again, thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you so much, Sylvie and Pascal.
Thank you, Margarita. Thank you for having us again.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Photonhub and Margarita. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.